Hello everyone, I do want to apologize for the delay on this reading being done. I left my cards at home and I was out of town, unfortunately. So here is your Mappin/Autumn Equinox reading. Your good old pick a deck. This should give some insight as to what is going on next in your life for you. This is just general. So go ahead, pause this video or just take your time, let me know which deck calls to you, and start determining which deck is going to be the one that you are going to choose. I will be including timestamps in this video as well. So without further ado, just go ahead and pause this video and determine which deck you want to use. I will be timestamping these as deck 1, deck 2, and deck 3, and I will be doing them in that order. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on to the show. So if you chose the first deck, this is for you. I am going to read the rune first. And this rune is about the self. So this is probably going to be a reading about self-growth during this time and changes within yourself and maybe some things that you might be stagnating on and some places that you are growing. But either way, this is going to be a very self-based reading. First up, we have the Five of Cups. So it looks like you may have been going through an emotionally rough time. However, you have ultimately learned a lot from it. And now you are prepared for what the world is going to throw at you regardless. But you do have to also keep in mind the lessons that you have learned. Ultimately, you can't get too in your head. You can't let yourself get too in your head. That is potentially insanely damaging for you. That is something that is insanely damaging for you, and you cannot let yourself do that. Instead, you need to make sure that you are reaching out to your friends and your support system while things are changing right now. This is a major test for you and a major test of yourself and who you are and how you handle things. This is what we are looking at as a test, an emotionally taxing test. Ultimately, this is going to make you not feel necessarily great all of the time. You are being tested right now. Your guides are going out of their way to test you and make you learn new things. They're making you learn hard lessons right now. And ultimately, things don't feel like they are moving quite as fast as you think they should. You feel very stagnated in a lot of ways. And that fucking sucks. But ultimately, this is a test and this trial period will be over soon. But right now, you are very much being tried by the universe. The world is testing you. You will make it out of this stronger than you are right now, though. You will make this out, or you will make it out of this as a stronger person. Even though things are rough right now emotionally, you will make it out of this as a more emotionally rounded, better person. And ultimately, things are going to turn out okay because this is a test right now and your spirits are letting this test occur because you need it for your own personal growth. So even though it sucks right now, you're going to get through it. This is a test. This is a time of trial and error, and you will be okay and you will make it through. Without further ado, I am going to move on to the next reading. I hope that this resonates and I hope you enjoyed it. If you chose deck number 2, this is the reading for you. First, we're going to look at our rune. And this one represents victory. So ultimately, this could be something, either a challenge that others have given for you or a challenge that you have put yourself up to that is finally coming to an end. Unlike the first one, even though the first one has had some major challenge things, it looks like you are coming towards the end of the challenges. First up, we've got the Four of Wands, followed by the Seven of Wands, followed by the Chariot. So ultimately, it looks like you have actually done a lot to take control of your own life and move forward in a healthy, positive way. And now is a time for you to actually get to celebrate your growth and celebrate the fruits of your labor and celebrate the things that you have won. Essentially, you have passed. But it doesn't necessarily feel good yet either. You're still kind of stuck in your head like, oh, well, yeah, I may have passed, but that was hard. What do you mean that all of this was just for funsies? but you have had the strength to get through everything, and you've shown strength, and you have the strength to get through everything. Because ultimately, in the real world, you may have been threatened to an extent. Like, you may have had your job threatened by competition, or you may have recently gotten a new job and beat out the competition. And now you're kind of like, well, what now? Like, was this what it was all for? And the answer is no, because now you need to take that time to heal and heal those wounds that have been opened up during this time. You've already won. It may be a good time to take a step back now from what you're doing and just kind of enjoy things and maybe go a little bit more inside of yourself, because your issues right now have been very externalized. It's been competitive. There's been competition, and you've won. You have shown self-control and discipline, and you have won, but you are exhausted, and ultimately you're kind of paranoid that it's going to go away. You're kind of paranoid about, like, this isn't really over yet, but this is over. You've won. Now you just need to go work through all of that internal stuff, all of that stuff inside that has been plaguing you, and all of that stuff that is still hard for you. You're still feeling a lot of anxiety, even though the fight is over. You have already won. You have already gotten what you needed. And you're so paranoid that it's going to be taken away that you are going to manifest it if you do not figure out how to get that in check. Once you figure out how to get that in check and truly learn to enjoy everything that you have gotten and everything that you have earned, your life is going to be a lot better. But until then, things are going to be hard. So you need to learn to appreciate everything and also understand that the fight is over and that you have come out on top, and that there is no more fight to be had. There is no more. This is a done, set deal. It's time for you to start working through your own paranoia and anxieties and fears, and start moving on. Start moving forward from this, because this fight is over. Without further ado, I'm going to move on to the third reading. Finally, on to our last reading of the day. First, we're going to look at our rune, and this is a fertility rune. However, I do not think that this necessarily means that you are pregnant by any means or trying to have a baby. If you are, then go ahead and take it as that. But ultimately, fertility in this context, in such a general context, because this is a general reading for a lot of people, it can mean more or less what you have created in your life and what you've been trying to create in your life and what you have been trying to foster in your life. What have you been trying to give birth to in your life, whether it be a human or not? That's kind of what this is about. So any project or anything like that that you have created, this is going to be about that, or something you've been trying to get to take off. You're on the right track. However, you may kind of have a snake. You may have a snake around, and ultimately you are spending so much time in your head regarding this project that you are ultimately screwing yourself up. You are over planning and not doing enough. Alternatively, you could be actually heavily under planning and rushing into things without thinking about what are the potential consequences of this. What am I doing wrong? You're not necessarily thinking everything through. Ultimately, it looks like you may betray yourself if someone else involved in the project doesn't accidentally or intentionally sabotage it. So you need to slow down a little bit, slow down from this, and start actually thinking everything through and thinking, do I trust everyone involved? Do I trust everyone here? Because this could even be the beginning of a new relationship. It's whatever you have been trying to manifest into your life and whatever you have been trying to give birth to in your life that we are talking about here. Ultimately, things will work out, but you need to think, what side am I of the justice? Am I on the right side? Are the scales in my favor? And these are questions that you need to be asking yourself. Are you really on the right track? And ultimately, this is something that means an awful lot to you. This is something that you really want in your life. But it's just not been happening, and it's not been working because things have been failing over and over. And you need to figure out why. You need to actually sit down and think, why hasn't this worked yet? Why hasn't everything gone well yet? There is hope, though, because once you start working out why aren't things working, you can either A, move on, or B, correct the things that have not been working out for this thing that you have been trying to create in your life. You can figure out what's up with it. You may be disappointed with the outcome of that, though. This may be something that, even though you really want it and you really want to manifest this in your life, now may not be a good time. Now just may not be a good time. Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if I were reading this for an individual person and not a group setting, I would be telling someone, hey, maybe you should quit trying for a baby right now because this is a fertility thing, if that be the case. But once again, I know that not all of my people watching this are trying for a baby. I think that most of y'all aren't, because most of y'all are relatively younger. So think about what you have really, really, really been trying to get into your life, like to a point of no avail and no end. And start realizing that this isn't actually making you happy. Start figuring out, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I pushing myself so hard for something that just brings back misery and upset? If it is supposed to happen, it will happen. But ultimately, there are better things for you as well. There are better things for you that's not going to cause these types of negative feelings in your life. You will be so much happier when you figure out what you are actually looking for. You need to just kind of let this go a little bit. It's okay. Ultimately, you're going to figure things out better, and things are going to get better when you start realizing the universe has you under control and that you are protected. But until then, you're going to have some really hard times because you are so set on this idea. You're so set on what you want to where you're making yourself miserable because it's not coming out exactly the way you want it. It's time to let it go and start figuring out, okay, what do I really want to do? What's going to make me happy?